Alex Willis, you are the director of the GoTo Group. Why do you think people who bought their house through their original agent don't go back to them the next time they want to sell it? Talk to me.
Fascinating point. And I think a lot to do is the experience. To do with it is the experience they have with them when buying. For myself, I've got two personal experience which highlight that. When I bought my property 6 years ago, the great thing was the agent was available on a Sunday to do a viewing, show me it, and we tied up a deal prior to it going on the market on the Monday. So availability was brilliant, but they didn't have much else about them. They didn't talk to me about how they could support us with additional services. There was a lot of things there that didn't make me think I would like to sell with you, and that's only been highlighted the longer I've lived in the property.
Have they been in contact with you since you moved in?
Absolutely no contact since. So again, that hasn't helped with that mindset.
Do you remember the name of the agent?
I do indeed.
Okay, I don't really know, but most people don't even know the name of the agent they bought through.
No, I do know the name of the agent, and to be fair, I haven't seen their boards around much, so maybe that's something to do with it. My brother-in-law as well is going through trying to buy a property now in London, and they negotiate a good deal, really nice property on the face of it. They go sole subject to contract, and then they have a survey, and then all of a sudden, Japanese knotweed, there's different things that come out of the survey.
That's not the estate agent's problem. It's not the estate agent's fault.
So from my side of things, as soon as they questioned the agent on it, the agent knew that there'd been signs of Japanese knotweed. They presented a treatment plan, and they obviously provided the info at that point. But I think it's more to do with perception as well.
Okay.
My brother-in-law was thinking, well, why weren't you honest with it? If you told me that, it might have changed things, and it probably it doesn't do any favours in terms of that trust moving forward. Was the feedback I genuinely got from him.
Okay, but defending all these estate agents watching this, caveat emptor or buyer beware.
Yeah, and I get that. I'm going off obviously my brother-in-law's feedback and how it made him feel. Obviously, I can advise differently and say, actually, that's why you get the survey, and it's not necessarily their obligation to tell you, but it's again by perception and their perception of that agent and the fact that they weren't told. So that's the main thing I'm getting at.
What else do you think?
I think as well, it may be seen sometimes that obviously the agent's client is the vendor,
Which is true.
Which is true. They pay the money. So it's about that agent, when they're dealing with a buyer, they're trying to get the best price for the vendor. They're trying to sort of do everything they can to try and make sure that the buyer pays the most money for that property. So of course, when the buyer's involved in that process, then maybe they're thinking, if they're not fully aware of what they're doing, like best and final, sealed bids, things like that, they're not obviously going to be told afterwards of what the agent was doing to get the best price for the vendor. So their perception is that it wasn't maybe the best process for them.
So what do you think the solution is then?
I think it's, I think there's an element where, agents will sometimes send out the most skilled staff to do the valuations, to deal with the vendors, to get the properties on the market. And sometimes, people going and doing the viewings can be seen as, door openers in some senses.
Okay.
And I think...
it's interesting, in Australia, the person who puts the house on the market does all the viewings and does all the negotiating and then chases the sale, whilst in the UK, it's split. Do you think that could be an issue?
I think potentially that if people have the capacity and they're able to sort of build in a model where people look after less properties but deal with all parts of it, fantastic. That could work for some people. But from a personal experience, I went to look at a property in West London. This was a few years ago, and we'd travelled down. It was an evening viewing, really excited to look at it. And the person that came to show us around the property did not have a clue, could not answer the questions that we posed, and therefore we were really left underwhelmed with that. So again, if we'd progressed that transaction and eventually bought that property, we probably still would have been looking back and going, well, we might not sell through them again, just because we don't know what experience the buyers are going to get who are interested in our property.
Okay. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you, Chris.